looking for 3 answers here. What will take you to the focal point or the sweet spot in your painting? What would take you there? What are the devices that I've taught you?
Light.
Yes. What color?
I don't know. White.
White.
Who said that? Sylvia? Right on. White, it's funny, the brain goes to white immediately. Your brain searches out white. If you don't have white in your painting, it's the lightest part of your painting. That's a huge piece of advice right there. I didn't catch on to that till later on. Okay? So don't forget that. Okay? And what's another one?
Leading lines?
What kind of geometry are we talking about?
Leading lines, that says.
Leading?
Leading lines.
Yeah, okay, not a line though? I'm looking for
The rule of thirds.
the rule of third, yes. That's number 3.
Shapes.
We're looking for what kind of shapes?
Triangle.
Yes, triangles will take you to the focal point. But you gotta hide them, you gotta be a little clever with them. If you have lines in your composition that are parallel, the eye is going nowhere. It's not gonna go. It's not gonna go back and forth. Okay, that's called static tension. Nothing wrong with static tension, but we're looking for dynamic tension. Who's the best static painter that I love? I've mentioned his name several times. Painted in the 20s and 30s. L'Oreal used his artwork for their products. No, he's a non-objective painter.
Mondrian.
Yes, who said that? Mondrian. Mondrian played with static shapes and static lines, always focusing on the golden rule. The whole thing is mathematics. To me, he's the best, the most perfect painter that I know of, because he's used mathematics. Okay, but there's no focal point. So when you're doing realism, which most of us enjoy, you've got to have a focal point. Okay? If you're doing abstract, not necessarily. But Van Gogh did. Van Gogh knew this stuff, and he would have a focal point. Could be a person in the field, could be a bit of maybe an eye. If you do a portrait, where's the focal point? In the eyes. Make sure you get the eyes right, because that's the viewer's going to go, whoa, that's nice. And there's some excellent portrait painters up there. Okay, so with non-objective now, these are just pure lines, shapes and colors and textures playing with space. That's the definition. Some of you, it's really big right now. There's a lot of people are starting out in painting and they're throwing paint at their canvas. They're calling it art, and they sign it and sell it for $500. I don't know. I'm not sure.
At least.
There's a lot of painters that are doing it. I know Carolyn Sharp is doing it now. She was a student of mine for several years. She's now teaching it, and she's actually gotten quite good. So she's worked through her own subject matter and her own style, and you won't find too many recognizable images in her paintings, but I enjoy looking at them. They're very, very powerful. They do that to you, or to me anyways. So those, and then there's finally, does anybody remember the very final mode of art, which is the least understood, but one of my favorites? So there's realism, abstract, non-objective art, and
Conceptual line.
very good. Oh, Sam. Conceptual art. Okay? And the definition of conceptual art is
Something non-objective.
the idea is more important than the final product. Okay? So you have great artists in the world, like Christo and his wife, who would travel around the world and wrap things up in canvas. Change the textures of the Parliament buildings in Prague. Like, how cool is that? That takes months. And you know, hanging an orange curtain over the Grand Canyon. Like, some people go, that's not art. Yes, it is. That guy did a lot of drawings and paintings to get to that project. And in New York, they would have lineups of people going to the gallery around the block just to buy a drawing of this guy's work, of his concept. And everybody, he'd make $1 million in his shows. He would do You'd rip out pages out of his sketchbook. You'd have a phone number. Shit, I would love to have a phone number written by Christo. They're worth a lot of money now. He's passed away, but that's his shtick. And he would do silk screens. He'd do prints. Awesome. I used to teach conceptual art to grade 11s. Imagine grade 11s, 14, 15-year-olds. By the time I was done with them, they loved them. They go, that's not art, Mr. McCarthy. Well, let me show you some stuff. And one of the ones I remember showing him was he'd gone down to Florida and he grabbed 3 islands. And he had permission. That's the other thing. You got to get permission for this. So he's got phone numbers, addresses of all these people. He had to get tugboats organized. And he wrapped them up in pink plastic along the shoreline. And he had all the tugboats pull the plastic out. So from the air, of course, he hires a helicopter. And he photographs it. And what do you see in your mind's eye? What do you see? What's he done? What's it look like?
Double bubble.
Lily pads. The lily pads. Isn't that great? Big, huge lily pads and flowers. Oh shit, man, that guy was awesome. Anyways, so those are the 4 different modes. They're on the video if you want to look at that. And so, I mean, he's gone to university. We used to have this discussion in grade 13, and when I taught university, I used to ask the students, who's an artist? What makes you an artist? So we'd have this philosophical conversation. It got pretty deep. And I said, just because you take art doesn't mean you're an artist. Right? So you guys are starting to be artists. You're students of art, which is fine. That's a really good beginning. And you know some of this stuff, okay? So these are the elements and principles of design. So I'm going to ask Sam because she's pretty. You got to have good line. I mean, can you imagine a line in music, and your musical notes are on the same line? What do you got? It doesn't move up and down. And art has to have the same thing. It has to move up and down. So you don't see too much in the way of line here, but you do see shapes that are repeated, and they're kind of moving around, and they're not parallel. They're zigzag. Look, that's all on purpose. Okay, you see that? Okay, back in there, way back in there, another wedge in there. Okay, that's why I picked it, because it's an easy painting to teach from. Okay. So, light, shape, form, color, texture gives way to harmony, unity, climatic tension. Climatic tension might be a bit confusing for you, but I like using Pink Floyd to explain climatic tension. If you listen to Pink Floyd's music, they start out really textural, and like the song Money, it's like all these textures of bags being, bags of money slammed on the table, and counter, and it's brilliant. And then it reaches a crescendo 3/4 through the music where every instrument is giving their all to take you to the top. That's what climatic tension is. Okay, so all of your lines and your shapes, your colors, your textures take you to a point and then releases it out. Okay, the Dutch are really good at that. That's why I like the Dutch. Principles of design. These are pretty common words, but you have to use them with the major elements of design. So positive, negative space. Positive space is the object, the buildings, the trees, the groundwork, the flowers. Negative space, the air in and around and through these objects, and they have to be balanced. Okay? Can't have too much negative space. Doesn't go anywhere. Rhythm and movement, that's easy. You look at a snow fence in the wintertime, beautiful. It goes from small to big, and it moves, it takes you from point A to point B, like music, to me. We did balance. Repetition, same as rhythm and movement, where line, shape, form, color, texture repeated at least 3 times to get the brain to go, yeah, all those shapes belong to one another. And your brain reads that in 2.5 seconds. And that's the other little bit, right? You know that. In order for your brain to like something, you get 2.5 seconds. You may spend 6 months on something for that 2.5 seconds. And I know I've done it because I keep thinking, shit, this is a lot of work for 2.5 seconds. Kind of burns you down after a while. Contrast is nice. So it's really light and airy, ethereal up top, and heavy in the bottom. And there's another concept that comes into play with that, where it's like sculpture, and I used to teach sculpture, and I used to bring that in to the conversation, where weight, mass, and volume holds and anchors the painting down. Did you know you can't do, never say can't. The most beautiful field painting I saw was a silkscreen in Nova Scotia, and everything was at least a 6. There was no 8 or 9, it was fog. And I tried to do a lighthouse in the fog, and the painting was slipping away. It just, shit, it's missing something. So it's all this problem solving. What am I missing? Well, what was I missing? I was missing the foreground being heavy. Because in the foreground, you can see if you're in fog, it's dark, you get 7, 8, or 9 value. But in the background, it's like 1 and 2. So that's a beautiful contrast. And when I put the foreground in and the grass in the foreground of the lighthouse, the painting came to life. So that was a valuable lesson. You can't just have this thing being number 3 and number 4, the painting falls apart. There's nothing there to anchor it in. So you're doing anchoring right here. Okay. Any questions with any of this so far? I'm almost done. Size. I like painting big because it's hard. And if you look at some big paintings, like one of my favorite painters is Rosa Bonheur, who did a field of oxen and a farmer at the end of the oxen holding his plow, and the damn thing is like 6, 7 feet. And you just stand in front of that, and your head, your eyes don't move, your head has to move to see the whole thing. It's stunning. This woman could really paint animals. So when I think of size, I think of her, because she used to do some really, really big paintings. And of course, the court painter of Napoleon, trying to remember his name. I saw his painting. It was about 20 feet. Coronation of Napoleon. And he was, have you seen it? Anybody seen that painting? It's in the Louvre. It's about the size of that wall. And it's stunning. It's like there's not a wonky face anywhere. And I will look his name up. If somebody could look his name up, because it's going to drive me crazy. I'm losing artist names in my head. I'm getting old. Drama power. Yeah, you'll get that with, with your darks and your lights coming together, and zigzags mine. You won't read that in any art book. And I just live by zigzag. I just love things cutting, slicing, and breaking, and so.
Jacques-Louis
David. How can I forget his name? Jacques-Louis David. Thank you. Okay, a couple of posters here. I thought I'd include these. These are from a couple of workshops ago. Visual Path. This was a painting I did. I was going to show you the painting, but it's Nova Scotia. No, actually, it's Newfoundland. It's Trinity Bay. And I get the eye go around in a circle. And your eye just gets caught in that circle. So when you're designing stuff, you've got to have all of this in your mind. Like, where's the eye go? Does it stay in one spot? Or do you get it? The best thing to do is put it in a circle. And just have it go around. Because the last thing you want is somebody to move to the next painting. It's like, wait a minute. I did something there. You're missing. It's a bit of a... Okay, this is the same painting. So you will see this in art books. It's called silhouette and blocking, and it's where your darks and your lights are. And another name for this is called no tan. So there's no medium ground. There's no tan. It's black and white. And are they balanced? that shit goes through my head every time I point my camera at something. I'm not kidding. It's not, everything goes through my head. I'm looking for the lights, I'm looking for the darks, I'm looking for the blocking, I'm looking for the focal point, I'm looking for the lines. And then I'll snap. If I think it's going to be a painting, I'll take a picture and I'll show you one that I haven't painted yet. It'll blow your mind. You should see what Connie's got on her. Is that your cell phone that you showed me?
Yep.
If you get a moment. Beautiful. Okay, this is static and dynamic tension composition focal point rule of thirds. Same painting. So this is something else I do in my head. I break it up into the 9 boxes. And wherever those lines intersect, these are favorable spots for focal point. That's what this, you'll see this in art theory books. And you can make one, they're very easy, good for plein air painting. Okay? Something else we should be trying. A little plein air painting. Barb.
So in those spots on that grid you showed us,
Yeah.
on that last
Yeah.
picture,
Yeah.
what's the focal point in each of those?
Well, it could be anything.
Light? Is it?
Could be light.
Dark? It's just something.
Yeah, okay, so I've got possibly 5 places here that could be a focal point. And that's a good question, because I didn't mention the 5th one. It's in the middle. And this painting was a yellow house on a hill in Trinity Bay that was white and yellow. And there was nothing else in the painting that was white and yellow except for some of the hills, but it was stunning. It was just this beautiful Victorian home, and that's why I painted it, because it was, 8 o'clock in the morning and the light was hitting it. It was like, wow, it's idiot proof. You can't screw that shit up. You can't. Okay, and finally, these are my 6 rules for doing watercolor. Overall to detail, which is what we're doing. Okay. Background to foreground. No, inside to outside. That's way back to the outside, which is surface. Okay. Light to dark. That's what we're doing. Some of you got dark too quickly, so don't do that. Background to foreground. Large to small. Warm to cold. And overall to detail. That's up at the top. Okay? Watercolor. Don't mess with these. And you won't get yourself painting into a corner going, now what do I do? Because otherwise you're going to have to do a lot of negative painting, and that's a pain in the rear end. Trying to paint around things. But Wyeth does it. Wyeth doesn't use Miss Kit.
Why warm to cold?
Because you can't put yellow over top of red. You get garbage.
Right.
Or purple is like really dangerous. By itself it's beautiful, but the 2 complementary colors, purple and orange, you can't put them on top of one another. You get brown or you get mud. Okay? So that's why when I don't paint mud. I'm proud of that, and I teach not to paint mud because I paint with colors right out of the tube. That's my secret. And I paint the same way in oil. You should see the one I'm working on right now. You can barely look at it. I got to paint with sunglasses on. It's yellow, it's orange, it's green. It's like, jeepers, when am I going to knock that back? Because that's the stuff that keeps me awake at night. But in the end, I get this. I get something that sparkles, and people go, wow, that's a clean. And the most dangerous thing in watercolor is to paint mud. Most beginners will paint mud because they're mixing their colors wrong. And they're painting way too fast. They're mixing, like I don't mix anything until the 4th time I go into that painting, I'll start mixing colors up. So that's my secret. I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm happy about it. And with something I don't share with people, but you know how I got onto that? It's kind of interesting. Did I tell anybody? Printer. Well, you're a printer, so you would remember that. But okay, so Kelly knows this because she's been in more than one workshop. When I was having prints and posters done, I took my painting, which had about 35 colors in it, and I took it to Waterloo Printing, And I said, I want to make a poster out of this. And he said, yeah, okay, no problem. $4,000 later. And I said, wow, what do I get for $4,000? He said, well, we separate your painting. We get a camera that will break it down into 4 colors only. I went, holy shit, that's cool. 3 colors, really. You know, the primaries plus black. And they put them on separate plates, and they have Heidelberg printers that are $1 million each, these printers, and these big rollers, and they put and then you use the room, the light in the room, you hold your head sideways, and you see the sheen on the paper. And once that sheen is down, that means it's starting to dry too quickly. It's too hot in here, and it actually might be the occasion tonight. So just be aware of that. Okay? All right, so my colors, I don't know about you, but I draw with a pencil like this. I don't use an electric pencil sharpener, and I sharpen it on my sandpaper stick. So I always keep it nice and pointy. And drawing with this is an HB, but I like drawing with an H pencil or a 2H pencil, which is a little too light. You got to be careful. But that's what I use. And then my erasers. Some of you, I noticed one of you might have had your little buildings in the background a little too dark. So you might want to just punch that like that. And what this kneaded eraser does is it lifts the lead off the paper without smearing. Okay? And you don't have to touch the paper anymore. You have to. Gummy eraser's nice. And I have remember the old-fashioned ink erasers? You try to rub an ink line out with this thing and destroy your paper. Okay, so big plate. And my water's here. I have a spray bottle, not a spritzer. And what color now are we going to paint in? So you have a look at that. What do you see?
Alizarin.
Alizarin, good.
I see the violet one
Yeah,
and the yellow.
that's kind of alizarin. Maybe a little bit of violet, purple, and blue. And at a certain value, you will get this color. So there's actually even a little bit of yellow in there. Now, if you take a look, this is all, I do this first, right? So the rule in watercolor is background to foreground. So you do the sky first because everything sits on top. Okay? So knowing that this was going to be this color down in here in my head, these colors go into the sky. So the buildings belong to the sky and the sky belongs to the buildings. You know how many people screw that up when you're first starting to paint? It's all isolated and there's no harmony. So I've juried shows before, and you can tell a beginner because that's what they do. Remember, how many boxes should be occupied with line, shape, form, color, texture? How many boxes?
9. 3.
3 out of the 4.
4. Oh, 4.
4, yeah. His balance it's 4. But I messed you up with the 5. But if you have 3 boxes filled in with line, shape, form, color, texture, it'll be balanced. Okay, and you need balance. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to mix my colors first. And that's one of my favorite colors right there, Payne's Gray. And I'm going to use a phthalo blue. You got to watch your Payne's Gray. I don't know if this is Holbein. It's a little blacker than the, and Da Vinci's a little blacker actually than the Winsor Newton. Now we're going to get finished this weekend. Hey, Kim? Kim just loves the entertainment. She just...
Did finish your
last night
paintings
in
in Ireland?
Dublin with a beer and fish and chips. Unreal. That was so much fun. That was memorable. Walking around trying to find Irish sweaters. Okay, I can't find my yellow blue. It's gotta be in there somewhere. Antwerp, I'll use Antwerp. Okay, now, this is something else you can do. The nice thing about watercolor, you can actually paint a three-piece suit and not get dirty with oil paint. I get oil paint all over me. But with watercolor, you can split the two. And open it up. And now I'm going to end up with paint all over my fingers, which is not a good idea.
Don't cut yourself.
Yeah. Well, these, does anybody have any of this in their
Do you want
arsenal?
Antwerp?
Yeah, Antwerp or a phthalo blue would be fine. Thank you.
Here, you want to?
Oh, thank you.
Got it?
Got it?
I've got.
Antwerp, nice. Wow. Do we have that on the list?
No.
No, eh? That's a nice blue. Antwerp blue. Okay, you put your paint up top, so you're not polluting anything in your puddle. These are all little things I've taught myself after doing 3,000 paintings. You kind of have a process that you just don't want to muck with. Okay, the other one was alizarin crimson. No, let's use opera rose. No, let's use wood, because that's what you got. Does anybody have opera rose? That's a nice color. Yeah, hold it up here. What's that?
At home.
Yeah, good lad. That's a nice color. Emerald green is not on the list, and that's another nice color. I was using it today. Okay, and yellow.
You can't get
Aeroline
emerald green
or
anymore.
lemon yellow is my favorite.
Lemon yellow is? Is that what you said?
Yeah, Windsor, you gotta watch the yellow. There's some yellows that are a little darker than others. I'm gonna have a look at this lemon yellow. It might be a bit day glow. No, it's okay. Okay, now you gotta use that sparingly. Now also, when I teach, most of you know, if you've been here before, I use numbers to instruct. So a number 1 value is almost white of the paper. Number 10 is the darkest part of the paper. So what number would that yellow be?
2?
2, exactly. Okay? So it's easy for me to go, that should be like a 3 or a 4, and then you get it right away without me trying to explain it. Okay. The other typical thing we could be doing, but not in this painting because we don't really need to, is I will lay the mist kit down first. That's this stuff. It's a latex rubber. It mixes with water, okay, but it'll kill a brush. It's rubber. It'll go into your brush and you cannot get it out if it dries. It stinks,
I know.
but I brought a big container if you needed to take a little bit.
That one really stinks. It's not you.
Yeah, I'm sure it's the bottle. It's the bottle. Okay. All right, so let's, and soap is what you use to, if I'm gonna splatter, I'm gonna grab an old fan brush that I can afford to give up, and I will dip it in the soap. And I have everything, oh, this isn't soap, this is more latex rubber. That was soap, shit.
Do you need
Did anybody have
soap?
soap? Yeah, I do. Thank you. I got soap. No, that's soap.
Sorry, that's the other, no, here, this is the
Oh,
soap.
we got some, oh, who's next? Thank you. I have all this put away in my studio because I've been doing oil painting. So, this little tool is very, very handy. It's a burnisher for doing printmaking and copper plating, and it's for taking scratches out. So if you've got a scratch that you don't want printed, you just rub some oil and you just move it back and forth and you flatten the whole area out so it gets rid of the line. But now, because I was a printmaker, now I just use it to get the staples out. That's all you do. Go underneath the paper very carefully, and I have done that. Yeah, you don't want to do that. Okay, now, because we are, well, let's do something first. I'm going to do the miskit first. I'm going to block the sky out because nothing worse than having miskit in the sky. And I don't know if you noticed, but there's little flowers in here. It's really nice to put the flowers in because it sets up foreground, midground, background, which every surface of your painting should have. It gives you dimension. So the flowers sit on the surface. So everything that you do with the fan brush sits in the background. So it gives it some dimension, okay? So I'll do that first because it takes about 15-20 minutes for it to dry. And I'm going to use a plate and then I'll clean it off. I use those little vials for medicine. Very handy. After you've done your drugs, you put your biscuit in there, or your soap. And I am going to, where was the soap? That's the soap there. And then my water, because I'm left-handed, it's going to be on the left side. I like painting with a Kleenex in my hand.
Is the soap dish liquid?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's just dish soap.
okay.
Yeah. So I wet this first, and then I will go into the soap. That's pretty thick. And I've been using a towel lately too. So I think maybe what I'll do is just needs a coating. Okay, and then I'll put the plate up in here. It's not going to disturb anything. And you got a little bit of water to this if it's too thick. And these are my flowers. I don't like overdoing it because I hate this stuff. It does create more problems than you can imagine. Okay, that's plenty for me right there. Maybe a little bit right there, and I can paint around the rocks. Okay. That.
Do you care about the splooches?
The which?
The splooches?
Those that are not
I'll wait
dots.
for them to dry, and then I can pull them off with my finger. You can't do it now. I mean, I if I had a Q-tip, I would, but it's too. It's easier if it's dry.
Do we do that before this guy? Do we
Yeah.
before this
Everything
guy?
I do, you do.
Okay, so we'll have to let it dry.
Yeah, because it's going to take longer for it to dry than the sky will. Okay, so I can show you actually 5 things at the same time. I'm going to put 3 colors in the sky at the same time while this is drying out. And how many, what's the value, do you think, of the sky? What do you see there? 2.5. You're right, 2. But the yellow and the mauve is really, it's a 1. Because I'll go over top of it with blue and maybe a little hint of paint spray to get the bluish out of it. And it'll sit back a little bit more. So let's do that. You mix your colors up first, because when you lay your water down on the paper, it's drying. So you spin. You okay? Thank God we're past COVID.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's all. Okay, here's the other rule that I like. If I'm not too sure, I can always get darker. You get dark right away, it's too late. You're stuck in that value, and it'll ruin your painting if you're not careful. So better go light. And this Antwerp and phthalo blue, I would, if you've got Antwerp, use it. I think it's the best blue. It's funny, I can't get Antwerp in oil paint. And I use an Alkyd, which is a fast-drying oil paint. I can't get Antwerp in there, so I use a phthalo blue.
And you can't get emerald green anymore in watercolor.
In Alkyd?
In watercolor.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So why can't you mix one up?
Well, you can.
Come close to it.
You can, you know, you gotta, yeah, the substance of that emerald, it's got maybe a little bit of white in it. There's just some colors you can't mix up. I think that's pretty good right there. I'd rather be safe than sorry. Okay. Now, you know, I don't want to put anything on that.
So Barry, can you accelerate the drying of that biscuit with a fan or?
Yeah, you can. With a fan? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And a hair blower.
Yeah.
If you want to stand there and blow dry.
I'll get
But
up, I brought one.
it,
Not that I
yeah,
need- not
no,
that I
no,
need it, but-
it'll work for you. Yep. Okay, so I'm thinking little mauve and purple up in here. I'm going to mix up a little bit of purple. It's blue here, so it goes from blue to purple, yellow through the middle, and a red that kind of hugs around the yellow. So I got to get my painting cap on and try to figure out where I need to be. So I think my next color is going to be, I got a little bit of Windsor Violet. There it is there. I look really cheap when I do this, but I love color. So if I've got it, that's, ooh, that had soap on it, didn't it? Soap on that, that'll be a resist. Thing is, you do these workshops, you can't have all your favorite studio stuff around you. I've got like 20 plates all stacked up ready to be used. Okay. Okay. This is such a beautiful color. For several years, I actually stopped painting in brown. I would just bring out the purple. And it was just the best substitute. Look at that color. Okay, and make sure your colors are all the same value. Right? You don't want to have one stronger than the other. Okay, so we'll just set that aside and away we go. I'm going to go over the houses, around the building if I can, but it's not that important. Okay, I can go right over that roof because it's dark. Just want to stay away from that roof. And the misket. Okay, so I'm using the light in the room to make sure that the shine or the sheen is equal. Okay? All right, now, I use a bigger fan brush. I love my fan brushes. And I'm going to start with red in the middle. The towel's nice because I can do this, you see. That's a bit too light. You know, when you flip your work upside down, you use a different part of your brain. It's very cool.
A better part?
It's, well, depending on whether you're left-handed or right-handed.
Did you ever teach any lessons like that?
I did, yeah. Drawing from the right-hand side of your brain?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I stumbled onto it myself when I was, before the book came out. I wrecked my shoulders on my bike. I fell off my bike. And I went into therapy for the longest time. And I had to paint my painting that I was working on. It was a 5-foot watercolor, a vertical, and I had to paint it with my right hand. I'll tell you, man, that was like the hardest thing I had to do. It was almost impossible. Because your brain is connected, right? Like the right side of my brain is connected to my left. And trying to go the other way, man, I had a really hard time. But I got it done. I was trying to figure out some way of connecting a chain or some kind of, bungee cord off the ceiling of my studio so I could bounce. I was desperate. I had to paint. I really needed to get this thing done. And I painted a lot of that painting upside down. Okay, so I'm just doing X's. I'm keeping it really loose. If you notice, there's lots of moisture there. And now yellow, which is kind of right through here. And maybe up in here, a little bit down in there, a little bit over here.
You don't get concerned about turning it green there on the side where you ran into
No.
blue?
What, here? No.
Yeah.
Green won't hurt anything. I love green. Okay. Some artists may want to blend it a little bit by tilting the board. I don't think you need to do that. I don't often do it, but I always have a backup, and that is a dry fan brush. If I run into trouble and I get a streak in there, which you might get, I've seen it, not for me, mind you, but I'm ready. So I will have this brush to kind of feather it all together like that, and then I get out of there. I mean, how many passes is that? 4?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
simple.
You're not doing this.
I am.
That too,
Yeah,
those
I
two
am.
sections.
I missed that completely. That throws you right off when you're upside down.
So why don't you turn the picture you're working from upside down? Oh, you did,
I
right,
am.
right.
But at one time I didn't, you're right. Okay, just for fun, I'm gonna run through these. Everyone's freaked out over those little buildings off into St. Pierre. It's dead easy, guys. It's not hard. You're gonna fake it and it'll look fine. People aren't gonna dwell on the buildings. I'm gonna show you a little perspective when we get going too. Okay, that's good enough for me for now. Let it dry. Maybe a little bit of, yeah, what I'm going to do is run that blue right down to this. This was such a beautiful area of the world. The little fishing sheds were fully restored about 20 years ago, and they were just starting to break down. And so they were, back to what they could have looked like in the 40s.
They still use.
Yeah, no, it's a tourist spot. Okay, you could actually, too, while I'm yakking here, I like saving time. So I'm seeing that there's a lot of blue on that wall. So if you could be very careful and just, block it in. Not going to hurt anything. Except I just hit that white wall there, and I don't want that. I wanted that light. There. Okay, like that.
So using the same reasoning, why wouldn't you do this other building here?
I could. You want me to?
No, it's
Or the
just
flat
a
barn,
just a
too.
question.
No,
the
it's a
same,
good question.
that
It's,
one,
yeah,
that
I
one.
could. Yep. No problem. I don't want to give you too much because you get lost. I've done a few of these workshops before and don't like giving you too much to do. Don't forget, we can always get darker. Yeah, that'll be all right. Okay. Got that memorized? Okay, I'm upside down. I'm going to do one other little thing that I probably should have done last time, but I'm going to tilt my board so that if there's any extra liquid, it's going to kind of run down a little bit, but I'm going to feather it with one of my fan brushes. So if you're going to use my hake brush, if you're going to use my hake brush, make sure you return it clean, because I'm going to go in there, and if there's any little bits in here, and it's going to end up in my sky, I'm going to have to kill you. Because that stuff I can't get out of the sky. I'm scratching it with a needle. So there's my, I'm not too disappointed with that. And don't stop, Kaylin. All the way through. And another little tidbit is pigment always follows the water. If you stop somewhere, you get a dry spot, you're screwed. Okay, so time for the fan brush, because I am doing, I don't know if I need too much red in there. I'm quite happy with the amount of red. Watch your red. This will kill your painting. Just be careful. Could use
Why do you
maybe-
do the two layers?
I'm sorry?
Why do you do 2 washes?
Oh, I can do 5.
All right, why would you do 5?
Because I tiptoe. I want to make sure that a level of pigment doesn't get away on me, and I can always get darker, but I can't get lighter. So I'm one of those kind of anal, I'm just not too sure, you know? These little hairs and stuff. You save, you can pull them out if you want, but best just to save it. Okay, I want, where's my print?
Behind you, on the wall behind you. Here's one.
Ah, thank you. Okay, so up in here, it's kind of bluey purple, so I know, don't panic. This freaks me out a little bit, but I'm going to put a little bit of blue in there because it's that color there. And I always make one side, whether it's fog or not, I always make one side darker than the other. Always. It's another one of my little things that I do. Now I'm going to push the purple into the blue. And if I'm going to use an X pattern, I'll do that. and I get out of there. Now, that yellow is still too bright for me, but I'm gonna let it dry because I can put a bluey purple over top of that and push all of that back. But if I go back in there now, it'll become a dog's breakfast. And you know what? Watercolor has taught me to be patient, right? Because I was like, my paintings had to be done the same day I started. And I'd be like a mess. I'd just be panicking. I was anal and hyper, and now I'm not. If it doesn't get done today, it'll get done next week. That's the way I am now. And it's a good way to be, because if you're patient wins. Okay, any questions with that? No? Okay. Okay, I'm going to do the yellow building. I'm just blocking in. So don't get too excited. And then go right over the garage doors. And then I'm going to, now watch this. This is, yeah, thanks. There's yellow, yellow. There's yellow underneath the whole thing. Okay? So what I would do is probably bring out the yellow and the orange, but I'm just going to do yellow for now. And notice, this is something else I do. I mean, I have my own little habits, right? And I get away with it because it works. I always cool the bottom down. That still says grass. It's blue and purple. Right? And I have fun with that. I do that in just about every painting now. It's kind of a signature thing. Yeah. So I won't put yellow in there. I'm going to save that for some blue. So get practiced up. Watch you don't splatter. Just be careful. I'm going to move this a little closer to the painting. But I'm going to start my texture right over top of the flowers.
And would you call that a 2 or a 3?
I would say 2.5 to 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do want to see the broken line. Okay? It can't be like the sky. This is texture. And we're just laying down the bed of texture to get started for tomorrow.
Your page is dry down there.
This is called wet into dry. Wet brush, dry paper.
So you put the yellow on the rocks as well? Sorry.
Yeah, I did that, didn't I?
You kind of did, yeah.
That's okay, it can come out. Not gonna hurt anything. But you guys, you never know. So there's a lot of yellow back in here. I'll make that solid. But this is, notice where I hold the brush. Just analyze everything that I do. This is 30 years of playing with a fan brush. And then I go back there and watch people paint and they're doing this.
So heavy.
I get a little fussy. I call it a dance. I do the dance. I move the brush around to get different little blotches and textures. Some of them are wide, some of them are thin, some of them are big, some of them are small. But the idea is it's not a house. So, okay, that's got some orange in it. I'm going to leave that like that. Bet you thought I was going to pull that off. There's blue down there. So just to remind myself. So there you can kind of see what's going on there with the technique. And you can see if with this brush and using this technique, that could be a stone wall. That could be tree. And what else? And I've used it for just about, well, definitely grass and understructure. Okay, that's good. Okay, questions, concerns, snide remarks?